Have you ever looked at an optical illusion and found yourself questioning the reality of what you were seeing? It's a fascinating experience that has captivated people for centuries. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the world of mind-bending optical illusions and uncover the secrets behind these perplexing phenomena. Get ready to have your mind blown. At their core, optical illusions are all about playing tricks on our brains. Our brains are powerful organs that constantly work to interpret the world around us, relying on visual cues and patterns to make sense of our surroundings. But what happens when those cues and patterns are distorted or manipulated? That's where the magic of optical illusions comes into play. One of the most famous examples of an optical illusion is the Necker cube. This simple line drawing depicts a cube that appears to rotate in space when you gaze at it. Have you ever noticed that the cube seems to flip back and forth, as if it can't make up its mind? This illusion occurs because our brains are trying to make sense of the ambiguous lines and angles presented to us. Our brain instinctively tries to interpret the cube as a three-dimensional object, but because the two-dimensional drawing lacks depth, our perception wavers. But why does our brain struggle to interpret two-dimensional images as three-dimensional objects? Well, it turns out that our brains rely heavily on contextual information to construct our perception of reality. Our experience and understanding of the world are based on our interactions with the environment. When presented with a flat image, our brains attempt to make it conform to our three-dimensional expectations, leading to confusion and ambiguity. Another mind-bending optical illusion that showcases the power of context is the Kanaiza triangle. This illusion features three Pac-Man-like shapes placed strategically to create the impression of a white triangle in the center. However, if you take a closer look, you'll realize that there is no actual triangle present in the image. Our brains have a natural tendency to complete incomplete images or patterns. It's a survival mechanism that allows us to quickly recognize and understand our environment. When our brains detect certain familiar cues, like the arcs in the Kanaiza triangle, they automatically fill in the gaps to create a cohesive whole. But in reality, there is no physical triangle there. It's an illusion constructed by our brains to make sense of the incomplete information. Now, let's uncover the science behind another mind-blowing optical illusion, the Hermann grid. This illusion demonstrates how our brains can play tricks on us by highlighting the relationship between light, dark, and our perception of these contrasting colors. The Hermann grid consists of a grid of black squares on a white background. Interestingly, when you focus on a particular intersection in the grid, you might notice faint black dots appearing in the white space. These dots seem to materialize and disappear when you shift your gaze. This phenomenon, known as the grid illusion, is a result of the interactions between the cells in our eyes and the way our visual system perceives contrast. Our eyes have specific cells called lateral geniculate nucleus, LGN, cells that respond to contrast changes. When we focus on an intersection in the grid, the cells in our eyes become overstimulated, causing us to perceive dots where there are none. But don't worry, your eyes are functioning perfectly fine. This is just another example of how our brains can sometimes deceive us. It's an intriguing reminder that our perception of reality is not always as objective as we might think. While these mind-bending optical illusions are incredibly entertaining, they also serve a more profound purpose. They remind us that our perception of reality is subjective and malleable. What we see is not always an accurate representation of the world around us. As you navigate through life, encountering various situations and experiences, remember that your perception is just one piece of the puzzle. Others may see things differently, and it's essential to embrace and appreciate those differences. Optical illusions teach us to question what we think we know and to challenge our assumptions. So, the next time you find yourself captivated by a mind-bending optical illusion, take a moment to revel in the wonder of your extraordinary brain. Celebrate the fact that you are part of a species capable of creating, interpreting, and being endlessly fascinated by the mysteries of perception. It's a truly magical world we live in, where even the simplest drawings can defy our understanding and leave us in awe.